Right, continuing the discussion of aggression, we're going to get into possible causes or explanations for aggression. And just like many things that I talk about in social psychology, we're going to talk about a lot of specific causes. And in the end, they'll kind of come together, and we'll say, well, a lot of these probably combine to explain or influence aggression. I am teaching during a very rainy day. I don't know if you can hear the thunder right now. I do apologize if you can hear that. I can't turn that one off. All right, so we're going to start with biological explanations for aggression. And so first we have this idea that sometimes aggression has this sort of instinctive component, especially if you look at non-human animal species. You do see a lot of instinctive aggression. Certain responses, they just come naturally. They don't have to be taught. You don't think about them. You just do them. It's like you have to do it. When a dog acts aggressively in certain situations, like they see a stranger, they feel threatened, they will bark, they will bare their teeth. There's the expression, the dog has to bark. You know, it's like they can't shut that off. It's not like they sit there and say, shall I bark at this person? They just do it. It just happens. And sometimes in human beings, we do engage in certain aggressive type behaviors in situations of threat or just extreme anger. And it feels like we have to do it. Evolutionary psychologists, remember, evolutionary psychology is the field of psychology that tries to explain modern contemporary behaviors in terms of what would help you survive, what would help you be attractive to mates, what would help you propagate the species, passing your genes on, letting them survive in the gene pool. And so evolutionary psychology acknowledges that aggression in humans, it could be instinctive or automatic to some degree. Like you just do it. Like if somebody's coming or they're trying to strangle you, choke you or something, chances are you're going to fight back. You're going to behave in an aggressive manner, even if you're not a particularly aggressive person. All right, once again, maximum recording limit reached, so I got cut off shortly. But I was talking about someone strangling you, you fight back. Instinctively, you fight back. That increases your survival if you do try to fight back in those situations where you could be potentially harmed. And then we have this term, genetic determinism. Genetic determinism, it kind of implies that there are genes that influence your behavior, and it's like a biological destiny or fate. You have no choice, no free will in the matter. Genes influence alone determines behavioral outcomes. Now that's a pretty strong view of things, but that is one view that you could take. And so we can look at other species, non-human animal species, and see things like the monarch butterflies that every year, they go from the United States to Mexico, and they just know where to go. It's like, how do they know where to go? Well, a lot of people say, hey, that's that genetic determinism. They just know. They must go. They do know. They do go. And then also, like when the salmon mating rituals you might have heard about in other classes, it's like, how do they know where to swim and how, just they just do. Do humans have that kind of determinism? Well, our determinism is less often linked to specific behaviors. It's more often linked to physical characteristics, like your eye color. Your eye color is very strongly determined by what is in your genes. Physical characteristics, issues with chromosomes, if you have chromosomal abnormalities. But not a lot of our behavior has been explained in such a deterministic manner. There are, other complicated factors that have to be considered. So, with evolutionary psychology, and evolutionary psychologists, when they look at the advantages, the survivability, the attractiveness that you can get from certain types of aggressive behavior, they will say, well, look, aggression is common in human beings because it works. You can get things with aggression. You can survive with aggression. There are advantages to aggression, even though we typically hopefully have been socialized to think of it as a not so desirable behavior, or at least not all the time. And so we see that people who automatically respond with aggression, even though you might look at them and say, hey, that's a horrible, mean bully person, they tend to gain resources that improve their reproductive opportunities. So why would aggression persist in the human species? Well, it has advantages, and so we can't disregard those advantages. Now, mating. Evolutionary psychologists will also focus on what makes you attractive to mates, because, typically, traditionally, without assisted reproductive technology, to pass on your genes, you have to be able to mate with somebody, you have to attract somebody. And we do see that for most men, status and mating motives increase direct aggression only when they know other men are watching. All right? So impressing other men does seem to be important, and the research available, impressing other men seems to be important to men. Women, generally, they tend to favor indirect aggression, something we call relational aggression. It's something I talk about when I teach developmental psychology. This is where you are aggressive by like spreading rumors or excluding people, like saying, oh, we had a party, but I didn't invite you, harming people's social status, sort of your mean girls behavior. Now, it is true that women are more likely to engage in relational or indirect aggression, and men are more likely to engage in physical or direct aggression. But that is not to say that you don't have men who engage in relational aggression, and women can absolutely engage in direct or physical aggression, but there may be some socialization differences in terms of what is considered socially acceptable. And we do see that bullying is quite common in human beings. Another thing I talk about when I teach developmental psychology, and bullying is when you repeatedly target somebody. You pick a victim, usually someone with less power, and you repeatedly direct aggression at them. That's what makes it bullying. It's not a single instance. And bullying can be relational, it could be physical, it could take all sorts of forms. We now have recognition of cyberbullying, where you use electronic means. And we see that bullying is quite common in human beings, and it happens even in polite circles. Even the nerds can bully each other. They can, do the little insults or something, target somebody like, oh, well, you're not a true, you don't truly know what you're talking about. You're not a true fan of this sci-fi franchise that's a big one. Gatekeeping in geeky circles. Oh, you think you're a Batman fan? Well, name all however many 100 issues have ever been published, and and by the way, can you name all of the Robin? I'm speaking like comic book guy from The Simpsons. And but yeah, bullying is everywhere. It's not just schoolyard sort of thing. Workplace bullying. Let's not pretend like that doesn't happen. Political. When people are campaigning for political positions, how often do you see them engage in what's essentially bullying behavior towards each other? Yeah, all right. And so bullying occurs in a wide variety of social situations, and the intent is to harm someone in order to gain status, and possibly to prevent future aggression. Raise your status, make it so you have more power, so they don't want to mess with you anymore. All right, but yeah, humans, we got a lot of aggression. All right, now, let's see. Okay. I think I'm going to do this in another video. All right, so the next video, I'm going to talk about the 4 biological responses to threat. I'm going to save that for a separate video. It's nice standalone.